this, I think, is easily the weirdest of new movie trends. 2024, the year of the popcorn bucket. There are many different ways to try and sum up 2024, especially through a movie cinema lens, but this year, the cinema industry took the game up a notch when it came out to what we stored our movie time snackage in. The collectible bucket, usually shaped like a character's head, maybe nothing necessarily new, but we all know there was something else going on with them this year. From one unfortunate design becoming an internet phenomenon, every other movie would proceed to jump on making some of the craziest bucket designs out there. Gotta love some sweet and salted capitalism. And so, looking back at the year, we're gonna be viewing 2024 through these overpriced plastic containers. Starting with the granddaddy of them all, oh boy, it's the Dune Part 2 Sandworm Bucket. Yeah, don't play innocent with me, this is why you clicked on this video. It's because of this guy. Old Teethy McWorm over here. We can all see what it looks like and what alternative uses our dirty minds are thinking of. It's still hard to decipher the deliberate to accidental ratio on this one. It feels like something they didn't really think through, and yet I'd kinda concur that this legitimately was a huge publicity booster for the movie. Anything that gets carried into meme culture is an immediate winner. All press is good press, you know? And something like an internet meme has the platform to create things like Barbenheimer after all. This is why other movies' marketing departments were like, we need to up our game. Do something radical. Popcorn buckets have always been a way to make extra revenue, but this was the first time we'd seen it become an actual contributor to the movie's viral publicity. Here's the thing as well. If this thing was made for a comedy, it wouldn't have been as funny. It's the fact that it was a tie-in for what is, by all accounts, a seriously toned science fiction epic. That is what gives it that chaotic air of being unintentionally hilarious. Not only was the movie successful, but the sales of these damn buckets were off the charts. I hope they were only used for its main purpose. And they completely sold out. And the ones I found on eBay whilst researching this video are currently asking for $300 to over $1,000 for this thing. And so the year of this bizarre popcorn bucket gold rush began. It's the classic life cycle of accidental success in our digital age. Brand does something unintentionally hilarious, internet makes it famous, other brands jump on the trend to rinse it for every dollar they can. Meme dies. However, before anyone could deliberately jump on this trend, we first had another accidental member of this strange club, because to tie into the release of Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, we were treated to a Slimer bucket with his mouth wide open. Tongue sticking out on everything. And honestly, if we hadn't had the Sandworm bucket just before this, I don't think our minds would have even gone there with this design. This is some well-known 80s iconography, and the design absolutely makes sense with that kind of character. You know, of course, Slimer would stuff himself with popcorn, and the gross-out element of having to pick it back out of him just fits perfectly for the kind of tone of some of those movies. However, post-Sandworm, the internet was on full alert to find the next inappropriate popcorn bucket, and mouth-open Slimer just fit the bill. Godzilla X Kong narrowly avoided a similar fate, theirs being Godzilla's head poking out of the water. However, fortunately, they took an alternative creative route, and naturally put the access point in the back of Godzilla's head. To be fair, compared to the rest of him at least, this guy has quite a small face, so I could see the popcorn logistics with that one. And it wasn't just the big action movies that wanted a piece of this action, with animated movies also upping their popcorn game. Kinda weird considering this whole trend was kicked off by a worm resembling a love aid, but that's nonetheless what they did. With Inside Out 2, as with all of these movies, there's different examples across cinema chains. However, the most notable efforts included a bucket design like the core memory orbs from the movie, or for all intents and purposes, a ball with the Inside Out 2 logo on it. However, if I was a collector, what I'd be gunning for would be the one of Anger's flaming head. I gotta be honest, I think this is the one thing I think Despicable Me 4 did better than Inside Out 2, which is a wild sentence to say. With their bucket, they made a full-on baby Gru carrier. Complete with the iconic Gru scarf, as well as a couple Minion symbols, this thing's most notable feature is the fact that it has wearable straps. You can wear the damn popcorn bucket. How very Disneyland. Because if you're gonna eat a baby carrier's worth of popcorn, you may as well have it strapped to you too. In fairness, logistics-wise, I guess it means you won't have that moment where the lights come on and your shirt is littered with crumbs. But at the same time, you're kinda just trading one source of shame for another. Like, cool, you got rid of the crumbs, but now you're using a baby carrier as a bib. Evidently, I'm not the guy who's gonna wear it, but you can certainly appreciate the creativity that went into it. Considering the less than family-friendly origins of this craze, you gotta appreciate that they just used the opportunity to be more inventive with a bucket design that ties directly into the plot of the movie. However, if you're Deadpool and Wolverine, you go the complete opposite direction. They fully jumped in on the meme with this filth-ridden monstrosity of a promotion. I can't unsee the clip of the butter dripping. And for what they were going for, they absolutely hit the right tone. The wide open mouth, the tongue, it's unsettling to look at. When it comes to Deadpool's marketing, there's a precedent for this kind of thing. We all know that Ryan Reynolds has his head screwed on for a viral marketing campaign. And yet, a criticism of the Deadpool and Wolverine campaign was that the excessive budget they were privy to actually took away from some of the more guerrilla marketing of the first couple movies. The underdog charm of those movies wasn't quite there. However, by most accounts, I'd say that this popcorn bucket promo was an exception that totally hit that tone exactly right. The best Deadpool marketing is when it feels like the character's overseeing the promo himself, and that's very much what we get here. He's literally signed the bucket, and of course, at Wolverine's expense. Also, since we do have this shot of the butter, for those always asking if it's true that we generally don't butter our popcorn in the UK, the answer is yes, it's only sugar and salt. You're really gonna add butter to what are already little capsules of salt and sugar? That's crazy. But don't worry, we keep our life expectancy low through alcohol intake instead. Anyway, a movie I heard most people needed a drink to get through was Venom: The Last Dance. Like Deadpool and Wolverine, they also went with a mouth open with tongue look, but like Sony to Marvel in general, utilizing it less successfully. Hey there, thank you for making it halfway through. Come and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Alright, back to the rest of it. On its own, it's a decent enough bucket design that matches up well to the Venom character, whilst also continuing the dirty-mindedness of the viral aesthetic. They just didn't seem to make anything of it. Considering the version of Venom they've established, for better or worse, I felt like it was fully on brand for them to also have made a thing of the rude popcorn bucket. I mean, you made the clip of the guy drowning in milk on Hot Ones like this. It's a decent addition, but it doesn't exactly reinvent the wheel, which is still higher praise than the movie generally got. Onto the alien Romulus bucket, and whoa. Okay, they can't play innocent with this one. I don't care that they just based it on the xenomorph head. Look at the shape of it! Sure, they at least haven't made the mouth the entry point. Cool. Beyond that, they knew exactly what they were doing. And again, it's hit that Dune 2 mark of being associated with a more serious movie, so well done them, I suppose. Also, just a quick reminder that both Deadpool and Wolverine and Alien Romulus are Disney-produced movies. If the fact that they produced these movies wasn't wild enough, then these buckets sure hammer that home. Beetlejuice 2 took a different approach to responding to the Dune 2 bucket. Rather than joining the not safe for work bucket trend, they instead used the franchise's own version of their sandworm. And honestly, I think that was a way more creative approach than just yet another smutty looking bucket. At this point, with every movie trying to make the rudest looking thing possible, the Beetlejuice sandworm just looks like a classy choice at this point. Not every day that you could describe a cheaply made popcorn bucket as classy, but there it is. Beyond that, the design of the bucket being made up of the worm wrapped around itself is probably the best realized concept of all of them so far. This may well be the best bucket of the year as far as I'm concerned. Are we gonna make this an award ceremony every year? Only challenged by perhaps, rather fittingly, Gladiator 2. That sandworm's cute and all. Try a model of the Roman Colosseum to put your popcorn in. I can't tell whether this was a great idea for a bucket or just completely overboard. Is this the bucket that jumped the shark and pulled away the consumerist curtain? Because not only is this thing a full-on toy coliseum pretending to be a popcorn container, but once you've finished gorging on an arena's portion of salt, there's a QR code at the bottom that you can scan and watch tiny gladiators fighting in the bucket through your phone. It's definitely going completely overboard, but I can't deny how creative that is. If you're going to overcharge everyone at the retail stand, at least give them some effort. And amongst many other things, that is some effort. But we're not done yet. Let's look at the more recent examples to close out 2024. As we know, another movie that came out at the same time as Gladiator 2 was Wicked. Glicked never happened, but even still, I kinda love that despite both of them being successful on that opening weekend, almost universally, no one bought into Glicked as a thing. You may have also been as successful as the Barbenheimer weekend, but that doesn't mean you're getting Barbenheimer status. Anyway, Wicked has been a truly merch-hungry monster this past month. Its cross-promotion invasion is beyond any campaign we've seen in a while. Perhaps since Star Wars The Force Awakens in 2015. And to match that energy with their popcorn buckets, they made some tins. Tins with lids. Obviously, nowhere near the craziness of some of the other examples, but also, I don't hate it. A tin seems suitably classy for the movie it's attached to, the artwork's nice enough, and having an Elphaba and Glinda one gives them some collectability too. Not to mention, the problem you always get with a lard popcorn is getting half of it home when you inevitably don't manage to eat it all, so the lids are kind of a welcome addition too. I want to see more lids for these buckets. But yeah, despite its simplicity, I'd actually say this is a better example of a collectible that could last long term as something that isn't just a cheap bit of plastic that you bought from the cinema. A lot of these are kind of redundant beyond being an elaborate popcorn bucket. But this one, you could rinse out afterwards and repurpose it in some way. And not in the way the Dune 2 one could be. I think that's the worst thing about the meme. You know some people have probably tried it. I'm starting to feel bad for those damn worms. Onto the bucket from another huge movie in Moana 2, and it just kind of seems impractical from where I'm standing. It's a wave. And initially, I was unsure where it even opened. From the photos, it looked like it opened up in the middle, which seemed to avoid a whole chunk of vital popcorn space. However, then I found another photo after searching for it, and it is at least a bit at the top. Again, no shady connotations with this one, family friendly and all that. I guess it's quite creative, but just not the shape what I would have reached for when it came to designing a popcorn bucket. It's not even the star of the show here. That goes to the Moana 2 nacho boat. Look at this thing. They're seriously trying to pass this off as a plate. My guy, that is not a plate! That is pouring cheese dip into a playset. It's just the absolute audacity of this as a product. And sure, the movie made quite a lot of money, so go for it. But I just want to know who in the trust fund family came home from the movies with a frickin' nacho boat. Onto what's described itself as the Popcorn 3 popcorn vessel. It's just Sonic's head. It's his head. You can open up the top of his skull and fill it with popcorn. Cool. Kind of more in line with what we'd expect from a popcorn bucket. Definitely doesn't match the freaking excessiveness of some of the designs this year. Yeah, not much to say on the bucket. It's also why I glazed over Transformers 1, as they did the same thing, but with Optimus and Bumblebee. Whilst Wild Robot just went with a classic movie print on a normal bucket. Yeah, remember those? Maybe it's a sign that the dust has started to settle on this trend. I don't know. Only kidding, the Mufasa popcorn bucket is bringing us a full-on model of Pride Rock. You open up the top rock and whoa, look, it's full of popcorn. My take would have been the popcorn being on the ground below Mufasa, as if they're all worshipping him, but that's why I'm not in charge of creating these things. But taking my complete lack of enthusiasm for the movie out of it, it does match the heights of some of the other designs from this year. I just find it funny. Imagine people watching this movie whilst eating out a scale model of an African landscape on their lap. What a year this has been. I think capping off the year's buckets with this design just seems fitting with how excessive and ridiculous they got. From memes about a sandworm taking rock to a hollow plastic version of Pride Rock. When we look back at 2024, we can now sit back and think probably the more pressing stuff that happened in our lives, but maybe on occasion about the horny buckets we met along the way as well. There you are, everybody, your year summarized in popcorn buckets. You're welcome. For now, my name's been Daz. Thank you very much for reaching the end of this video, and I shall see you in a little bit.